Okay, Lee. In the last part, we talked a little bit about, well, quite a bit about how racing, you know, how well it does and how badly it does, etc. Now, in your Racing Post column over the last 12 months, you've talked a fair bit about diversity in racing. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, so it's a subject that interests me greatly for personal, professional reasons. I'm a bit diverse myself. I'm a gay man, married obviously to another gay man. That's how it best works. I have been very fortunate that hasn't impacted on me professionally at all. But there are a number of I think people within what you might call diverse groups within the community that aren't as well represented in horse racing. I'm on the BHA's Diversity in Racing Steering Group, and that has come from a very well-meaning place, trying to make racing less of a white male sport. So I think we need to see more people going racing and working in racing and represented on racing boards and in important high-level racing positions who aren't white and male. And I think that would be of huge benefit to the sport. I think you look at it from two ways. One, it's the right thing to be doing in the sense that you want your sport to be open to all. And I think racing is open to all, but there's perception and reality. And if some people perceive it's not, then you have to tackle that perception for it to become a reality. And I think we need to get more people, say, who aren't white and male involved in horse racing. If you look at boards in major racing organisations, there aren't enough women on them. There aren't enough people who aren't white in them. And I say from the sort of person that got me into this group, I think that the one reason they invited me, because I'm a relatively prominent gay person in horse racing, is that whilst it's not affected me personally, and actually the racing media has got a number of prominent LGBT people in it. I think if you look at the weighing room, there's only ever been one out gay jockey. Now, if you look at statistically across the country, that can't possibly be the case. There must have been more, but weren't prepared to talk about their sexuality. Now, if that's just the way they are, then that's fine. But if they felt there were reasons why they would have liked to, but they couldn't do, then that's something that needs tackling. So I think this whole diversity move, while some people might find it a bit frustrating or annoying or irrelevant, it really isn't. It's the right thing to do, and commercially it's of huge importance too, because if you can make the sport as attractive to as many people as possible, then the sport can only be better for it commercially and morally.
It's interesting what you said then about jockeys. Do you think there is still that sort of old-fashioned sort of view in the weighing room, the sort of macho image that has to be kept up?
No, I don't actually. I don't think there is. And I say, when I spoke to, did a piece a few years ago with Jack Dern, jockey who's openly gay, he said it's never been an issue for him. Spoke to AP about it, McCoy, who said, listen, he thinks that if a jockey came out in the weighing room, there'd be a lot of mickey taking, but that's what happened to anybody. And it happens to me in the press. You know, people make jokes about me, and I make jokes about them. That's what people do. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't think there's an old-fashioned necessary attitude in the weighing room, but I think, as I made that point about perceptions, if people perceive that there might be, then you have to try and present a better, more modern, open picture of the sport. Because I think, I said, with many things, I think it is about tackling a perception as much as tackling reality. And so, on some occasions there are real core, tangible problems that you need to deal with. Sometimes it's just a perception, but I think both have to be dealt with.
Now, you're dealing with a bit of a paradox in racing.
Yeah.
When you've got sponsors and big money in the game that come from places where, if you were born there, you would be at best victimised, probably, and at worst treated as a criminal. Now, how does that?
Me as a gay man?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I've written about this in my Racing Post column, and I say this is should say with anything like this, when a columnist expresses a view, it's the columnist expressing a view, not the columnist talking for the Racing Post. The Racing Post is a broad church, and things that I say might be completely disagreed with a different columnist. That's how it should be. I think with any columnist, you don't want people to agree with you all the time. My personal view on that subject is I am very uneasy with certain sponsorships. I dislike state sponsorships where I think the role of the sponsorship is to promote a state that I don't think racing should be promoting. I have nothing whatsoever against individuals, high-level individuals within those states, owning racehorses, winning great races, pumping money into the sport. That's fantastic. And so the one I've written most about has been the Goodwood sponsorship with Qatar. I personally dislike it. It's brought a huge amount of money into horse racing, and for that Qatar should be absolutely congratulated, and we should be grateful for their generosity. But I see it as a sponsorship that Goodwood is promoting the state of Qatar because of it, and it is not a state I would wish to promote personally. So I don't like it, but lots of other people do love it. Horseman would say we're getting tons of prize money, extra money into the sport because of it, and I completely understand that point of view. But my personal point of view, and it's only a personal point of view, is I don't think it's worth it.
You've obviously got some very strong opinions there, and I really appreciate you airing them on camera. Now, other people that have got strong opinions quite often hide behind, well, anonymous identities on social media, which has become a necessary evil. And, we promote these videos largely on social media. How do you feel when you get attacked, or the post gets attacked, or your colleagues get attacked by social media? Is it something that plays in your mind, or how do you deal with it?
It doesn't tend to play on my mind excessively, and I think generally I get a pretty easy ride on social media compared to some people, and I never have any issue at all with anyone using social media or any form to say to me, you're wrong. I was at Epsom the other day, and a trainer stopped me, and in a very polite and a very courteous way said to me he thought I was wrong about a view I've expressed about owners preventing grooms leading in horses after races. And a lot of people on social media will do it in the same way. They'll be very polite, they'll simply say, I think you're wrong, and there'll be a lot of occasions when I am wrong. I'm a columnist, I'll get things right, I'll get things wrong. Ultimately, I'm just expressing my point of view. What I dislike is when criticism can get personal, and as I say, I've generally been very fortunate, and I've had an easier ride than some people have. I think when people are rude or critical about you behind a pseudonym, or when you don't know who they are, I think that doesn't generally merit a response, because if you're not prepared to say who you are, why should I engage with you? And I think there are people who are targeted for personal abuse just because of the roles they hold within racing. And I think when it becomes nasty, when it becomes personal, when it becomes unpleasant, it does go beyond the line. And I suppose what I dislike as well on social media is listen, it's obvious that not everyone on social media loves the Racing Post, and we get a lot of flack. Now, there are times when we deserve the flack, because we make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I make plenty myself. As an organisation, we make mistakes, and not every viewpoint that columnist expresses will be supported by everybody. But I would like to think that people could at least be tolerant of different views being expressed, because they nearly always come from a good place. But I say what I find particularly upsetting and annoying is when people try to say on social media, it's Racing Post, it's toilet paper, they don't care. We do care. You know, I'm in racing writing because I love horse racing. I work in journalism as well as working in horse racing, and journalism is what pays my wages, but I'm only in it because I love horse racing. And I can guarantee that pretty much everyone that works for Racing Post, and certainly the ones that write about horse racing for the Racing Post, are in it because they love horse racing. And they also love the product. You know, I've worked there for 22 years this September, and I know how much everyone that works on the various titles that we put out cares about what we do. So those people that say, oh, they've got no competition, so they're just floating along doing it on the bridle, that is hugely wrong. You know, we do care. I know myself as a writer, if I make a mistake in a piece, then I am mortified. You know, there's no worse feeling as a writer than, and this happens to me, you're in the shower the following morning or you're in bed that night and you suddenly have a dawning moment that says, heck, I've balls up there, I've got the wrong name, or I've made some stupid mistake, and you're mortified by it. And any media title will make mistakes, because none of us are flawless, none of us are immune from getting things wrong. But I could not be more honest or clear in saying that we do care, and if we get things wrong, we care about it, and we always come at it from a good place. The Racing Post only survives if people are interested in horse racing. You know, if no one cared about horse racing, no one wanted to watch it or read about it, there would be no Racing Post. My mortgage wouldn't get paid. So it is not in our interest to do down racing. We will be critical of racing, and I think some people make the mistake of thinking if you're challenging something in racing, be that a policy about the whip, be it about bloodstock sales, be it about whatever, that you're trying to damage racing. We're not. But I think it would be naive to think that everything is perfect in racing. It's not. And we will sometimes say, we don't agree with this, or we think this maybe needs to be looked at. That's not trying to have a go at racing. That's saying that racing could be better by doing something a different way. Ultimately, as I say, we only exist if racing is flourishing, and it's in our interest for racing to flourish. We care about racing, and I say anyone that works on the Racing Post absolutely cares about putting out the best possible content we can.